Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to get into calculating the volume of prisms and cylinders. So follow along on your document as I work through this one and let me know if you have questions. There'll be some questions embedded in the video, so answer those to the best of your ability and let's get started. All right, so the volume of a prism is the product of the area of the base and the height. Now that B value that you see there, that's the area of the base. So depending on the shape of the prism, how you calculate the area of that base differs. Then the volume of a cylinder, it's the same equation, is the area of the base times the height of the cylinder. Well, the area of the base of a cylinder is always going to be a circle, so the volume is pi r squared times height. All right, so let's use this now to calculate the volume of these different solids that we see here and see which figures have the same volume. Okay, so let's get started. So first one with A, we see that this length here is 4. The diameter of this circle is 2, so the radius would be 1 foot. But we don't actually know the height here, right? But we could create a right triangle within here, and that's not drawn the best, but we could draw a right triangle in there. And if I just pull that out, kind of label it, we have that the hypotenuse is 4, that base is 1, and we don't know the height, right? So first thing, if we're going to see if this volume is the same as the other ones, we need to figure out the height of that shape. So I'm going to say 1 squared plus h squared equals 4 squared. 1 squared is 1, plus h squared equals 16. Subtract 1, so h squared equals 15. So we're just going to say the height is the square root of 15. All right, now that we have the height, we can calculate the volume of A. So the volume of A is going to be pi r squared, so pi times 1 squared times the square root of 15, which would simplify to just the square root of 15 times pi, right? Let's get the volume of these other ones. Well, the volume of B is just the area of the base, so pi times 1, since it's a rectangle, times the height, 4. So the volume of B is 4 pi. So those aren't the same, A and B. Last, let's get C. So the area of the base. This one, again, is going to have a radius of 1, because 2 is the diameter, so 2 divided by 2. So pi times 1 squared times the height of 4. 1 squared is 1, so this would be 4 pi, right? So B and C have the same volume. Great. Let's calculate the volume of a few others. So when I introduced prisms, I told you the equation for the volume of a prism is the area of the base times the height. Well, looking at this first shape, we have a triangular prism, right, where these are our two bases. So we want to get the area of that base, which would be 1/2 base 1 times base 2, so 3, or base 1 plus base 2, so 3 plus 6, times the height, which is this dashed red line here, 3.7. Okay, that's for the trapezoid. So that's the equation for area of the base. Then we need to multiply this by the height of the trapezoid, and the height of this trapezoid, or the height of the prism of the trapezoid, is 8. So we're going to times that all by 8. Okay, so this first bit that's in the bracket is the area of the trapezoidal base times 8, the height of the prism, right? And we can just plug all of that in our calculator, and when we do, we get 133.2 centimeters cubed. All right, next one, we have a triangular prism, where these are our bases. So again, area of the base Here the base is a triangle, so 1/2 times 3 times 4. And then the height of the prism is 5, so times 5. Plug all that in our calculator, we get 30 miles cubed. Okay, so that's calculating the volume. We can also use the volume to calculate a missing dimension. So here, find the length of the missing dimension. With this one, it's a cylinder, so we know the equation is pi r squared times h. And I like to always write out that equation because then I can think, okay, what do I have from this image? What can I plug into the spots that I know? Well, we know the volume, it's given. It says 784 pi. Our radius is labeled as x, so we're gonna put x squared, and then the height is 16, right? All right, to solve this, the first thing I want to do, they both have pi on both sides, so I can divide by pi, which cancels out the pi, leaving us with just 784, 16 times x squared, right? I want to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide by 16. X squared equals 49. And then we want just x, so I'm going to square root both sides, and I get that x equals 7 feet. So our radius is 7 feet. All right, last we're given the volume of this triangular prism, and we want to find the height of the triangular base. So we know the equation should be volume equals 1/2 base times height, since that's the area of a triangle, times the height of the whole prism, right? We have that the volume is 256.053 equals 1/2. The base is 8.9 times x times 13.7, right? All right, so now we want to solve this, undo it, get x by itself. So I'm going to divide by 13.7 and cancel that 13.7 off on the right side. I'd be left with 1/2 times 8.9 times x, and when I divide by 13.7, I get 18.69. Okay, next I'm going to multiply by 2. Right, cancel out that 1/2, and when I do that, I get 37.38 equals 8.9x, and divide by 8.9. We're left with x equals 4.2 centimeters. Great. All right.